Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather, and I hope you're all doing very well and ready to talk about today's topic, which is the sixth house in astrology. So let's pull this up. Okay, so the sixth house, just if we are looking at our natal chart, our sixth house, it's the one that's right here with the little six. It's down in about the 4 o'clock position. And you're going to want to take a look to see if you have any planets in the sixth house and also what sign is on the cusp. So this is my birth chart. I do not have any planets in the sixth house, and Cancer is what is on the cusp of my sixth house. So the sixth house, like we've looked at with all the other houses so far, is going to correlate to the sixth sign, right? So we had the first house being Aries, the second house was Taurus, the third house was Virgo, the third house was Gemini, the fourth house was Cancer, the fifth house was Leo, and the sixth house is now going to be the Virgo aspects of life. So, the sixth house in ancient astrology was known as the house of bad fortune or misfortune because it doesn't make any aspecting signs to your ascendant. But I've watched tons and tons of videos on it, and it seems like that has really not, that's been left behind in the ancient world, and that people don't view it as being a house of misfortune. And actually, the malefic planets tend to do pretty well here. The malefics being Pluto, Saturn, or Mars tend to be a decent placement to have. So yeah, the Virgo ruled areas of life are Virgo's all about service and work. They're very regimented. It's your daily tasks and really like it's being able to improve by just doing the small things over and over. So um, the sixth house is a mutable house, meaning that it's flexible and they like adapt well. So, we've probably heard that there's cardinal houses, fixed houses, and mutable houses. And it kind of goes with the seasons, right? So, the first house of the spring season is going to be the cardinal. It's the first one to go in, it initiates. And then the fixed house or the fixed sign is going to be what's right in the middle of that season. So that one's, kind of stays the pace. And then towards the end of the different seasons, those are the mutable. Those are adapting and they're changing for the next season. So if we look at that, like Virgo is a mutable sign, then this Virgo house is going to be one where you can make different improvements. So if you have maybe a misfortunate placement, you can work with it and things can get better. So, and that's a big thing with the aspects of this being the routines and the daily tasks, that if you do all these small little things, it'll lead to big change. Another Virgo ruled aspect to this house is being very nurturing and of service. This is a very healing house. This is a house all about your health, your diet, again, those day-to-day choices, your exercise. And then, the negative being, and if you don't, make good decisions day to day, this could be a house of diseases. So as we've looked at the different polar accesses, we had the first house, seventh house aspect. We had the second and eighth house aspect. We had the third and the ninth, the fourth and the 10th, the fifth and the 11th. And so this is the sixth house that we're talking about, opposite the 12th house aspect. So both of them have to do with health, but the sixth house is going to have to do with more of your body's health, and the 12th house is more going to be like your mental health. So it's this mind body connection. Um, One thing about Virgos, if you know a Virgo, I happen to have a son who's a Virgo, and they can be a little bit of perfectionists, and they can be they really pay attention to the details and kind of be a little nitpicky. So that can be good or bad. You could work towards perfection or, get in your way of doing anything. So that is something that we could see as a theme throughout, the sixth house placements. And then the sixth house can also be a house where you might discover some enemies. So first, let's look at the sun in the sixth house. So the sun in the sixth house doesn't need applause, it needs purpose. So the sun, as we've talked about, is, what you shine to the world. It is very much your personality. It has a lot to do with work. So the sun being in a house of work and daily routines, you are going to have a very hard work ethic. And speaking about how, you take these small steps to improve, someone with the sun in the first house could constantly be trying to refine their skills, looking for ways to improve. Much of their identity, that sun placement, right, is going to be with what they contribute because this is the house of service. They could be healthcare workers, teachers, or people that organize because Virgo loves the details and they like it when everything, you know, lines up and works out well. So somebody with this placement, the sun being career, they could want to follow that path. Again, the negative side is that they could also be overly self-critical, so something to watch for if you do have the sun in the sixth house. And even if you don't have the sun in the sixth house, if you have Leo on your cusp, Leo is ruled by the sun, you may have some of these aspects as well. So, to wrap it up, the sun in the sixth house doesn't need applause, it needs purpose. These are the people who quietly become indispensable because they show up, put in the work, and strive to make everything they touch just a little bit better. All right, so next we have the moon in the sixth house. People with the moon in the sixth house find emotional security through being useful, creating routines, and taking care of everyday details of life. So the moon, as we've talked about previously, the moon is very tied to the cycles. I'm not sure if you can hear my dryer going off, but pardon me. So yes, the moon is all about cycles. So these people are going to need a structure and like a daily rhythm to feel that emotional, that moon um, balance. And they're going to feel very fulfilled when they are helping, supporting, or caring for others. The moon, as we've talked about, represents the mother. And so this is, a very nurturing aspect in a nurturing house. The moon has also got, it's very intuitive, very psychic. So these people may have strong instincts around their health and nutrition and wellness because those are sixth house um, categories. With the fluctuating cycles, you may just want to look out for inconsistencies because like there's an ebb and a flow of if you're going to stick to that diet. So yeah, just staying really consistent in your health and your exercise programs. Um, for work, they may work from home because the moon is the home, right? Or they may do something regarding homes, like real estate, staging, interior design. They may be a carpenter or a builder who's going to build homes. And a shadow aspect of having the moon in the sixth house could be that you're over caretaking or you take on too much responsibility, right? Like you just want to nurture, 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 and maybe, you're neglecting your own needs. And then if you have Cancer on the cusp of your sixth house, then you may have some of these aspects as well, even if you do not have the moon. So the moon in the sixth house has a heart that serves. These are the people who feel most fulfilled when they are making life better for someone else. But their greatest lesson is remembering that self-care is a form of service. And as somebody with Cancer on the cusp, I can very much attest to the truth of that. Okay, so next we have Mercury in the sixth house. So people with Mercury in the sixth house have minds that are wired to organize, analyze, and improve. So Mercury is going to be all about the communication, right? They love information. They're very fast moving. Um, they're very witty and smart. So somebody with Mercury, and I should say that Mercury is the ruler of Virgo, and these are the Virgo ruled areas of life. They're going to be highly observant. Like I said, the downside to Virgo can be being nitpicky, but it's that keen eye for detail. They could be great problem solvers because they do love, their minds are going like crazy. They just have that very mercurial energy. So, yes, very good at problem solving. They like to work on improving day-to-day tasks. Could have a career in writing. Again, Mercury's all about the communication, editing, that little perfectionist in them. Um, they could want to work in healthcare or in teaching. A shadow aspect is that these people can be critical. They can be self-critical or critical of others. So just something to watch out for if you have this aspect. And also that you could be a little prone to anxiety because it's that mind that never turns off. And if you're not focusing on the right thing, that can really start to spiral. And so again, if you have Gemini or Virgo on the cusp of the sixth house, you could have some of these characteristics as well. So Mercury in the sixth house is the mind of the problem solver. They notice the tiny details everyone else misses, and they have a gift for turning chaos into order. Their superpower isn't just intelligence, it's making life work better one small improvement at a time. And I actually am very close to someone with both the sun and the Mercury in the first house. And he is so great at if there's just this annoying little detail that just kind of bugs you, and makes you maybe procrastinate things, he's figuring it out. And when I read this, I can't help but smile because it's these little characteristics or like, character quirks maybe that you kind of see why someone may have them, and just thought that that was very fitting. Okay, so next we have Venus in the sixth house. People with Venus in the sixth house express love through acts of service. So Venus is all about love, sensuality, it's about pleasure, harmony, money. So somebody with this placement would then, create a very peaceful work environment because sixth house is, the workplace. They can find harmony and beauty in daily tasks and routines. Venus, that very loving, nurturing energy, they could enjoy taking care of others in this sixth house of self or of service. They could have careers involving beauty, wellness, or hospitality. The downside to having Venus in the sixth house could be that you might be a bit of a people pleaser, right? Because this is that house of service and you just, want to create that harmony and maybe you don't know when to stop. So something just to look out for if you have Venus in the sixth. And then people with Taurus or Libra on the cusp could have some of these same traits as well. So, Venus in the sixth house reminds us that love isn't always expressed through grand romantic gestures. Sometimes it's packing someone's lunch, checking in on a friend, caring for a pet, or quietly making another person's day a little easier. Their love language is often service and they make the ordinary feel beautiful. Oh, and I did forget to say pets are also a sixth house um, area of life. So sometimes when people, you know, how they relate to others and pets could be seen through this. So I'll try to keep that in mind as we go forward. Okay, so Mars in the sixth house. People with Mars in the sixth house are driven by productivity. They have strong desire to work, improve, and accomplish tangible results. So at the beginning of the video, I said that benefic planets or malefic planets tend to do pretty well in the sixth house, and Mars is a great example of that because Mars is, they're very, very strong-willed. So looking at it from the health aspect, this could be the gym bro. This could be somebody who loves to, do uh, what is that high hit fitness or whatever, or they like to go to just kind of crazy workout classes. They really exercise that Mars strength in the house of exercise. So yeah, it could just be a total powerhouse in the gym. They have a great stamina and work ethic. Again, these are people that they can go, go, go and take some of that Mars energy. Very disciplined. They might have careers that require physical exertion or decisiveness. That would be a very good way to channel this Mars in the sixth house energy. Um, so the downside is that they can have a tendency to overwork because they are so driven and ambitious that they could not know when to stop. Mars can sometimes have that conflicting, like little bit of fiery energy. So they could have conflict with coworkers since, we're talking about the workplace. And if you have Aries or Scorpio, which was Mars was the traditional ruler of Scorpio, then you would have some of these characteristics as well. So Mars in the sixth house is the warrior of the everyday. They don't wait for motivation, they create through action. Their greatest strength is their willingness to show up, work hard, and keep going even when everyone else has given up. Jupiter in the sixth house. They don't just work hard, they grow through work. So, Jupiter, as we've talked about, is the great benefic and it expands upon everything that it touches. It is the teacher, it is very joyful and optimistic. So, somebody with Jupiter in the sixth house would have good health because this is the house of health and work, and they would enjoy working. So, that those two everyday parts of life, they go well for them. And I feel like that would create such a great day to day. So, a really good placement. They are very positive. So, yes, they lift the morale in the workplace and have good fortune through employment or colleagues. So, someone with Jupiter in the sixth house would thrive in careers like teaching, like coaching, like healthcare. As we just talked about a minute ago when I was talking about pets, somebody with Jupiter in the sixth house, they might have lots of different pets, really enjoy animals. A downside or just something to watch out for because Jupiter can also have a bit of an overindulgence because they love something so much. And this is the house of like, our diet, that there could be a bit of an indulgence in food. So just, keep an eye on it if that's you. And Sagittarius or Pisces, traditional ruler of Pisces was Jupiter. If you have Sagittarius or Pisces on the cusp, then you would have some of these qualities as well. So, Jupiter in the sixth house teaches that greatness isn't built in a single moment, it's built through daily habits. The more they love, the more they serve, learn, and improve, the more life seems to open doors for them. All right, so Saturn in the sixth house. They often feel a strong sense of duty and may take their work, health, and daily obligations more seriously than most. So, this is the second malefic that now we are seeing in the sixth house, Mars being the first, Saturn being the second. So, Saturn takes its time, right? Saturn is patient. So, somebody with Saturn in their sixth house is going to have an extremely hard work ethic. Like, they are going to follow rules, maybe show up on a Saturday when it's not necessary. They are very structured, very disciplined. They have those Saturn qualities in the everyday, but Saturn also rules old age and kind of like delays. So they're going to earn respect through consistency rather than charisma. They're not going to come in and wow everyone on the first day, maybe, but they will really, come to be who their company relies on. They could excel in careers that require precision and patience. Um, and so Saturn, again, it's a malefic. So someone with this placement could have health challenges, they could have dietary issues, But because the sixth house is a mutable house, if they work on, okay, I can't have bread or I can't do this, then those health issues can really be overcome. Um, and if you have Capricorn or Aquarius, traditional ruler of Aquarius with Saturn on the cusp, then you may have some of these qualities as well. So Saturn in the sixth house isn't afraid of hard work. While others chase quick success, they build something lasting through patience, discipline, and daily effort. Their greatest achievement isn't talent, it is mastery earned over time. Next, we have Uranus in the sixth house. So people with Uranus in the sixth house are here to reinvent the way they work, live, and care for themselves. And as we've talked about, Uranus is all about shocks and surprises. It is the innovator. It loves freedom. So somebody with Uranus in the sixth house is not going to like rigid routines. They are going to want to do things on their own time, in their own way. They're going to prefer unconventional jobs and work environments. Um, a plus being, because Uranus does rule technology, that they have the ability to modernize workplaces and tasks. Regarding health, you're not going to keep them in the box, and they're going to probably look for alternative health modalities. Job-wise, they could have an interest in technology, science, astrology, alternative health, or humanitarian work. Again, Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, so that humanitarian aspect could really shine strongly because Aquarius, they're all about, the collective, and the sixth house is the house of service. So I really feel like those two could go hand in hand. With the shocks and surprises that Uranus brings in the sixth house, you could have sudden job changes, maybe off and on throughout life, maybe where you have certain planets aspecting your sixth house. Downside is you could have a difficulty sticking to routines because you don't want to, follow the rules. And if you have Aquarius on the cusp of your sixth house, then you may have some of these traits as well. So Uranus in the sixth house isn't here to follow the routine, they're here to improve it. Their greatest gift is seeing possibilities where everyone else sees the way it's always been done. Next, we have Neptune in the sixth house. So people with Neptune in the sixth house are here to bring compassion, intuition, and imagination into the everyday. So Neptune is, it's that watery planet that's very psychic and intuitive, and it can be a little murky, on the shadow side. Um, very, very nurturing. So somebody with Neptune in the sixth house is going to be deeply compassionate for wanting to help and heal others, again, in the house of service. And this is someone who is so loving, or a planet that, can bring that very loving energy. They, again, like Uranus and the sixth, are going to prefer flexible routines. It's very, like I said, it's the watery. They're not going to want a rigid schedule. They are going to be very creative problem solvers. Neptune can be sensitive to medications and chemicals. Neptune is also like, so we talked about that sixth house, 12th house. So Neptune is going to rule the 12th house aspects of life. And so we talked about with the sixth house being the body's health, the 12th house being the mind's health. So yes, just a sensitivity to medications and chemicals. They can excel in artistic, spiritual, healthcare work, counseling, very charitable work. A downside being that they could, again, like Uranus, have a difficulty sticking to routines. And if you have Pisces on the cusp of your sixth house, then you may have some of these qualities as well. Neptune in the sixth house reminds us that work isn't just about making a living, it's about making a difference. Their greatest gift is bringing compassion, healing, and inspiration into the ordinary moments of everyday life. All right, and then lastly, we have Pluto in the sixth house. So Pluto in the sixth house, people with Pluto in the sixth house are here to transform themselves through work, health, and daily habits. As we've talked about with Pluto, it is, the planet of life and death, right? Of that rebirth. Um, Pluto is a very powerful planet, and this is another malefic, right? Pluto can be very much associated with darkness and like the unseen, the underworld. And so, somebody who has Pluto in the sixth house, they are going to be extremely focused and determined, right? Because again, Pluto is so powerful. You could thrive when solving complex problems or uncovering hidden truths. It is, going down into the dark side and discovering what's hidden. You could be drawn to psychology, medicine, research, investigation, crisis management, or healing professions. A negative to this placement is that you could have obsessive tendencies around work, health, or perfection. So, yes, Pluto can be very, very obsessive. And you could have power struggles with coworkers or employers. And if you have Scorpio on the cusp of your sixth house, then you may have some of these qualities as well. Pluto in the sixth house doesn't just improve their life, they reinvent it. Every challenge, every setback, and every detail or every daily habit becomes an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more powerful. So that is it, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, thank you so much for sticking with me if you have made it this far. Um, If you like this video, please leave a like and let me know in the comments below if you have any sixth house placements. And I'm very much looking forward to our next video when we talk about the seventh house, and I will see you all soon. Bye.